I know that there are a lot of homeschoolers who educate their children through those early years in preparation for sending them to public school through their high school years. This is something that I'm really passionate about. Today I'm going to talk about just really focus on the academic benefits of home educating our children through these high school years. But there are so many social benefits for our children, spiritual benefits for our children, so many other benefits for homeschooling through high school. But like I say, I'm just going to target sort of the academic benefits. And as I was talking, or as I have talked with more and more families with children in this age group or approaching their teen years, I found that there were really three questions, three fears that families had as they consider home educating through high school. The first is, will my child get into college or university? Legitimate question. Can I teach high school? And if I do decide to educate my child at home through high school, what subjects should my child study? Are these questions that you have asked as your child is approaching these high school years? You're going to really enjoy today's conversation. I'm going to be talking about home education, homeschooling through high school, facing your fears with confidence. There are a lot of fears surrounding homeschooling our children through high school. There's the fear of reducing their future opportunities in post-secondary education or opportunities in their career. There's also the fear of, can I really teach upper level education? These upper level courses and subjects that my child wants to learn? Or maybe you're not sure what your child should study during their final years of education at home. I'll attempt to answer these questions and clear away some of these fears so that you can continue with confidence. I really believe that these fears are generated because of the unknown, that it's actually questions that we have that just haven't been answered. So I'll be answering those three questions as we continue today. My name is Diana Rolston, and I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, I bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. And I strive to create a supportive and encouraging environment for all homeschoolers. Whether you're homeschooling, whether you have your children at home approaching these high school years and you just have lots of questions right now, or I know there's some of you whose children are in public school and you're getting closer to high school, you're starting to explore the opportunity of educating your children through these high school years. I want to welcome you. This conversation is for you if you do have these questions of, will my child get into college or university if I educate them at home through high school? You're wondering, can I teach high school? Or maybe, what subjects should my child study? I'm going to be talking about homeschooling through high school, facing these fears with confidence. I have 3 children who I homeschooled through to graduation through high school. The youngest graduated in 2018. Let me just tackle that first question right off the top. Will my child get into college or university? Maybe it's Bible college, maybe it's an apprenticeship program that your child wants to pursue, or other post-secondary education options. There are so many options out there right now. Let me just tell you, yes, your child can and will be accepted into these institutions. In the province that I'm in, and I'm just going to, just for the government-funded colleges and universities, if you haven't gone online yet, when our children have graduated and start applying, or when they're approaching graduation and applying, there's actually 3 options right there on the screen for you. The most straightforward is if your child has a high school diploma. And that's the most straightforward. The second option for being accepted into post-secondary college and university in Canada is if your child is 19 years or older, they can apply as a mature student. Don't even need a high school diploma. Don't have to show any qualifications for that. The third is a homeschool option. It's right there. And as if you're going through that homeschool option, there is lots of opportunities there to enter experience and references and upload that transcript that you've created yourself. It's perfectly acceptable and accepted. And your child may have to do a placement test, most likely will, in English and math, or math, depending on what they're pursuing. But don't be afraid of that. If your child has done any English or any math, they probably will do just fine. Also, if that is their decision to go to post-secondary school and they know that this placement test is coming up, they should be, or will be, very motivated to actually do well on it. There are multiple opportunities to do that if they don't succeed the first time. There's also the college or university, I believe, are obligated to provide scribes or someone to read the questions if that's something that your child needs. So yes, the short answer, but also the great answer is yes, your child will get into college or university even if they don't have a government high school diploma. So that's great news for you. I said that my children have graduated from homeschool. 2 of my children went to Bible college. 1 went to a local college and is now pursuing an apprenticeship. So, and they don't have high school diplomas. So those are options open to your children. Now that that's a relief, you're wondering, can I teach high school? If you're talking about the traditional teacher-student relationship, probably not. But that's not what we do as home educators. I wanted to share with you this great quote. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. I love that. And if you keep that in mind, then your job as the homeschool teacher is completely redefined. You're not filling the pail with the knowledge that you have in your head to the into your child, but rather you're just lighting that spark that engages your child's learning. Because when your child is studying what they truly are passionate about, they will spend as much time as you give them studying on their own. Let me just share this other quote by Kenneth Robinson. Some of you will be familiar with him, and this is a quote from his book, Finding Your Element. When you're in your element, your sense of time changes. If you're doing something that you love, an hour can feel like 5 minutes. But if you're doing something that you do not, 5 minutes can feel like an hour. That is a really great indication of what your child is really passionate about, what they're really interested in. As I look at my comments, I want to say hi to Virginia and hey, Taria. Nice to see you both. Yeah, Taria, I love that quote too. And that's really what helped or was my inspiration for naming my company Spark Educational Therapy and Spark Homeschool Parent. So I love to share that quote whenever I can. So when our children have found that passion of theirs, they will spend so much time what they think is playing, but really is learning. And there's so many different ways of doing that. Our role as a teacher in homeschool, in high school, changes from, like I said, that teacher-student relationship that we're really familiar with, but now you become an encourager and a resource provider. So when your child is interested in something, you're helping them find those magazines and those videos, even textbooks, if that's the way that your child learns best, or creating experiences for them, or your child experimenting. There's a really interesting observation, I guess, from Heather McGowan. She says, we're asking young people what they want to be when they grow up, when maybe more than half of the jobs, tasks, and industries they may work in have not been invented yet. She's a future work strategist. So she says education must adapt accordingly. And she thinks this means less focus on transferring knowledge and more on the ability to learn for yourself. And that's huge and fantastic news for us as we consider teaching our children through high school. We're not transferring knowledge, but we want to create that ability in our children to learn for themselves, to become independent learners. We're not filling the pail, but we're sparking that fire. I just wanted to share a couple of my experiences. One of my children, some of you have heard this before, my eldest, he always loved being outside and loved playing outside. And when he was young, I encouraged that. I got really excited for him when he would discover new things, but that sort of grew, his interest grew into exploring nature around him. And then when he felt like he wanted to learn more, he started studying nature. And that meant different things for him, from movies and books, many, many different books, to growing interest in wildlife, and then a continued interest in surviving in the wilderness, which led to all sorts of first aid courses, including wilderness first aid and swift water rescue and all those types of first aid, which really grew an interest in him to learn more and more about the human body. But how did I know that? Well, I didn't when he first showed that he was interested in playing outside all the time. So encouraging that later grew into his growing knowledge and studying on the human body. I also have another son who always wanted to play with Lego whenever he had free time. And absolutely, his hour of playing with Lego would feel like 5 minutes to him. But when he felt like he had sort of mastered what he wanted to do, his curiosity helped him strive more. So his interest in Lego grew into an interest in Lego robotics, which grew into an interest in computer programming. I know nothing about computer programming, really have limited interest, but I would encourage him and provide resources for him to grow his knowledge in that area. And then that grew into his interest in electronics. And he is now in the apprenticeship program to become an electrician. My third son was always taking things apart. Okay, it's not something I encourage, to take apart my dishwasher that's working perfectly fine, but I would drive the neighborhood with him and we would pick up things at the end of people's driveways so that he can use those to take apart and explore and put back together, and then we in turn put them at the end of our driveway. So that I encouraged and helped resource by providing him parts and whatever he needed, to fixing bicycles, to fixing, maintaining, building bicycles, which then grew again into his interest in small engines and learning about science and gears, and a more in-depth interest in math. And then that for him grew into a small business. So great opportunities, self-driven, to learn more about business, accounting, marketing, economics were all things that he studied in high school. Not in the traditional way, but in ways that applied to him and interested him. And yeah, he did really well with that. He's now a framer and interested in learning more and more about home building. Again, still putting things together and yeah, creating things. But now he's reading textbooks by DeWalt, a tool manufacturer who puts out textbooks on home construction. The Canadian Home Builders Association have great magazines and textbooks and trade shows. So do the provincial and the local home builder associations. But just so you can see that it's not just the textbook learning, but I'll share a few other ways of learning. So for those subjects that you do have to teach, so those are areas, yeah, some areas that I just had no idea about, but encouraged and resourced my children. So there are some subjects that you may want to teach in high school, or you may have to because they may be a little bit more difficult for your child to do on their own. I just want to let you know that there are curriculums, obviously, out there that have teacher's guides. Some of those have associated DVDs or CDs. I guess that's kind of dates myself. Online learning for that, or videos for that, or audios for that. They have lesson plans and unit studies and quizzes are available if you're interested in doing that, but not necessarily accredited programs. There are also online courses that may or may not be accredited, but if it's something that your child is interested in and they want to pursue it, go for it. And like I said, they don't have to do it just for those credits in the end. I really encourage homeschoolers, especially in these high school years, to become part of your local homeschooling association. We have a great association locally, provincially, probably nationally also. But a lot of co-ops and small group learning will be posted in those Facebook groups. So yeah, take full advantage of those too. There's also the opportunity to hire tutors. There's a lot of homeschooled children who would just love to tutor younger homeschool children, or professional tutors in math and Latin and Greek, piano, English, French, whatever it is that you think your child would benefit from. Are you familiar with Khan Academy? They have some great resources online also in the maths and sciences. So those are also available for our children. Actually, all three of my children also took the opportunity to enroll part-time in local private schools. My eldest is quite competitive, so I had always told him he was doing well academically, but he really wanted to find out for himself. So he enrolled in a local high school, private school, and took 3 courses one semester. Did really well, satisfied himself that he was doing just fine, and actually doing much better academically than some other students. That after that one semester, he was convinced that the best thing for him was to come back and continue his education at home. So that is also an option. Excuse me. Another thing, as homeschoolers, we really have the opportunity to get out into the community. Mentors are an awesome resource for our children. There's an old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I have found that to be so true in the opportunity for my children. I see that you're there, Sherry. It's so great to see you. Thanks for joining me. And mentors, especially when it's an area that we're really not familiar with. As I said, one of my children is interested in being an electrician. And while he was in high school, he really wanted to learn more and more about electronics. My husband and I know nothing about electronics, don't know about future prospects for electronics. What direction should my son go in? What would be beneficial for him to learn? We had lots of questions, but as we talked more and more with friends and who talked to their friends, we found great mentors for that son who helped guide him in a direction and sort of open some more doors for him of things that he may want to pursue. We sometimes hesitate to open up these conversations with other adults, thinking, my child's just a kid, I don't want to bother this adult. But we have found, and we found multiple mentors for all three of our children over the years. We have found that adults get so excited to communicate with anybody really who have this similar interests, but when they meet a child or a teenager with really a lot of knowledge and interest in a subject that they're interested in, they're really excited to share and have lots of conversations and communications with that child. So continue to explore mentors. Let me just summarize that. We have online courses, we have curriculums, we have local groups that your child could be part of, tutors could be hired. There's Khan Academy, there's the option of school enrollment or mentors. The next big question is I want to just say again that you can teach your child. The next big question is, once you've decided that you may want to home educate your children, what subject should they study? Huge question. If you're looking at the provincial or state curriculum, around here there's 18 credits that children are to get: 4 English, 3 math, 2 science and arts, geography, history, and it goes on and on and on. Plus there's 12 optional courses. So what's that? Like 4 or 5 courses per semester that really take up a lot of our child's time with assignments and tests and exams. There's not a lot of time to explore their own interests. So I have found that many children who are in that public school system don't know what they're interested in. But we as homeschoolers, we have that opportunity for our children to explore their interests, and they really have a lot more time to be able to explore their interests, but also develop their interests. We've already gone through that. Our children don't need, as homeschoolers, or any children, don't need that diploma to get into post-secondary education or to pursue the career that they're interested in. Here's another quote that I wanted to share. This one I love. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he's always doing both. What a fantastic testament for if our children are pursuing things that they're interested in, um, to have that as work also. How many adults, how many of you even, are in a job that you just don't enjoy? But if we can continue to develop those interests, those passions in our children, then that can be their career. And like I had said previously, more than half of the jobs that they're going to be doing haven't even been developed yet. So we can't even say where these interests are going to lead them. I want to make a distinction between sort of curriculum learning in high school and desire-driven education. And what I'm talking about is desire-driven education. And like pursuing something of desire and just building excellence in that area. I also want to just point out the difference between talent and interests. And this really accentuates the importance of having this discussion with our children about what they're really interested in. We can see as parents what our children are good at, their talents, but it may not necessarily be their passions. So really delve into that conversation as you create goals and explore more about what your children want to study in their high school. Passions are that fingerprint, that signature, that uniqueness in our children. And every child is unique. And that's why I say every education should be unique also. Some of you are wondering, okay, my child, he can't just pursue what he loves all the time. And I am saying pursue your interests, but I'm not saying that their future success is based solely on their interests. As an example, I want you just to take a look that really it's a blend. It's like this three-legged chair, where it's a blend of their skills and abilities, their personal traits and their values, and also those dreams and passions. And when we can combine all of those, that's what we try to do. And that is really a goal of educating our children at home during these high school years. I hope this has been beneficial for you. This, again, is Spark Homeschool Parent. My commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey with joy. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join me, if you haven't already, in the Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group. I would love to see you there. And I'm really excited about my conversation next Friday. Next Friday at 1 o'clock, February the 25th. One question that I often get from other homeschoolers is, how do you homeschool children of a range in age? There's a lot of families with toddlers running around as you're trying to homeschool other children. And very often we need that one-on-one time. But how do you do that when you have a new baby or younger children? And just the demands of various different ages. That is not a question that I can answer from experience. My three boys were born within 2 years, having twins. So not something that I experienced. So I'm really excited to have a conversation with Tara Lee Hills next week. She is mom of many. And if you want to check her out before we get together again next Friday, she wrote a book, Mom of Many, Embracing the Blessing of Children. And you can also find her on YouTube, live with Mom of Many, Tara Lee Hills. And I'm really excited She just very recently had her 11th baby, just within the last month or two. So looking forward to that conversation. Thank you for joining me. I really hope that those fears that you have about high school and just those unknowns, I hope at least you have been able to realize that it can be done. Maybe I answered some of those questions so it's not unknown anymore, so that you can take that step to homeschool or continue homeschooling your children through high school and do it confidently. Thank you for joining me. As a Spark homeschool parent, you can ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.